In 1.1, proximity cost was reworked into proximity speed, and decentralization would now provide significant bonuses for keeping your vassals loyal. Overall, this means that by now, decentralization and spamming subjects everywhere is a really strong approach to playing the game, if not just straight up better than centralization in most cases. Some of the bonuses, like having loads more cabinet slots for integration, culture conversion, and religious conversions, are well known, as well as of course things like having more capitals overall for higher average control. But what if I told you it's actually even stronger than you think it is? So here we are, we've loaded into EU5 for this demonstration. I've selected Byzantium as they start with some land that isn't cored, allowing us to release some subjects. Now, one of the things you might know as one of the game rules when creating new subjects is that, of course, when you are creating a custom subject, you can't do a one location subject. The smallest location you can release is a single province subject. In that sense, though, this would already be very powerful, don't get me wrong. However, if we are to hypothetically release this vassal, make them go do fun over there, what we can actually do is go to this vassal, right? And then we can go ahead and, because we release them so they're loyal right away, we can seize a province from them. We'll seize this province from them, right? So far, so good. Now we've got this province back, but what this province allows us to do is, you've guessed it, go back and create a new custom subject on this location. So create a brand new vassal. We'll shove another character over there. Wonderful. But then we'll go into this subject that we've already released. We're going to transfer location to our other subject, these guys, and we're going to transfer them this location. Now remember, they might be unhappy with us because we've just released a subject, but they don't get a choice in this manner. You can transfer locations for free. And now this brand new subject that we've released, of course, they are still loyal because they're brand new, which means, you guessed it, we can go ahead and seize territory from them, this brand new province that we've just seized. Now that we've done that, you won't believe what we're going to do. We can go ahead and we're going to create a new subject. We're going to create the subject on this province, a brand new vassal. Okay, so far so good. And of course, the moment we've done that, we can go back to this guy, and yeah, you can kind of see where this is going. We can immediately transfer location to this guy of this province, and yeah, you can repeat this indefinitely, meaning that you can kind of farm out every single location being its own subject. Because there you go, you seize territory, and then you're able to go back, and you've got the point by now, create a brand new vassal. Wonderful. So, there we go. We've got like a bunch of these subjects over here. Why is this so fundamentally broken? Why is this so much more powerful? And even if you don't do this, because this is conditionally an exploit if you wish to define it so, why is this so strong? Well, of course, they get their own cabinet slots. We've been over this. Of course, their control is going to be through the roof because it's a capital, so they're going to have under control in every single province. But I think the part where it's a capital is really what's not stated here, right? Because capitals get access to unique capital buildings. You get to build royal courts, you get to build royal gardens, all these wonderful things. But why do royal courts and royal gardens matter? I mean, the monthly diplomats and prestige doesn't matter if that's going for your subject, right? Well, these buildings normally have a lot of production maintenance, but more importantly, they employ a bunch of nobles. And employing a bunch of nobles is really good because those nobles are going to start demanding trade goods, in essence farming a lot of trade good demand. This means that off rip, you can immediately put down for 400 ducats 150 noble jobs that are just going to sit there creating demand for your market, and if not implicitly for your market, for the overall market, because if you have this outside of Constantinople, let's say you put this in Dubrovnik, you're still going to have overall global demand go up, which is something you'll be able to fill and make money off. The cost of this building, meanwhile, all of these very expensive trade good maintenance in the sense of gold and marble, well, that's even more demand that you're going to be able to fill and make money, but what's extra important here is you're not the one paying maintenance for this. Your vassals are paying maintenance for this. In essence, giving you all of the benefits from all of these nobles coming in, providing all of this demand for you without any of the drawbacks of actually having to pay for any of this stuff. The other thing is, of course, don't forget, they're going to have their capitals on every single location. They're going to have a lot of control here. So most of these locations are still going to be profitable even with these insane noble demands, simply because they're able to maintain 100 control everywhere without needing to invest into roads or anything of that nature. And if you really want to push them for money, you can just enable scutage. But of course, it somehow actually just gets better. Because turns out the game has a lot of buildings that are capital specific. In the Age of Discovery, you'll get the House of Parliament, which can only be built on the capital. And that's 200 more noble jobs. Yep, of course. This is actually really huge. There's a big power spike in the Age of Discovery if you're doing this method, because you just get to build parliament everywhere. The entire just country gets covered in small, unique location miners that just have parliament buildings. And this is great for your economy because, you guessed it, even more demand for books, even more demand for paper, even more demand for fine cloth, and 200 new nobles buying things. And while it is true that other unique capital buildings like art schools aren't necessarily that good on demand, like, okay, more paper and book demand, you'll be fine, I don't tend to struggle with paper and book demands, but I tend to spam universities and libraries everywhere. Well, either way, it's still an extra bonus, and more importantly, this is maintenance you're not paying. If they're all your primary culture, you can spam universities, get all of these bonuses, and more importantly, the local cultural influence for your culture if they're within your culture group. And they will be within your culture group. They're going to be unique location minds. It's going to be very easy to force culture on them, right? This is a great way of getting loads of cultural influence for your culture and not have to pay for it because you're not the one paying the maintenance for these universities. Another building that's very expensive to build but great for creating demand is actually counting houses as well. Normally, I don't think it's worth building counting houses because very rarely the local crown power is worthwhile doing, I will find. However, you don't pay for this production method demand, and you guessed it, you make money off it. And turns out you just keep getting new unique capital buildings as the age goes on. In the Age of Reformation, you pick up the Supreme Court, which is normally pretty good as it gives you proximity speed as well as some crown power. But it also comes with some local monthly development, as well as, you've guessed it, 100 more noble jobs and wonderful new demands for your goods to keep on going and becoming even better. But this is now where we have to address the second part of why this is so overpowered. You've kind of got the hint here, the local monthly development growth. These guys that you're going to be spamming over here, what are they going to have? That's right, among other things, they're going to have Parliament. And for whatever reason, if you host your Parliament in a location, it gains the bonus Parliament location, which gives you max control, monthly control, and 0.01 local monthly development. This really adds up, especially because a lot of these unique location miners, what are they going to love doing? Well, they're not going to have a lot of things to spend their cabinet slots on once they've finished annexing their things and once they've culture and religiously converted for you. They're going to start, you guessed it, developing their province. And because each individual country here is their own country, they're going to get capital development events, which means that you're going to be able to come back to this in 300, 350 years, so by the end of the game, sure, but you're going to come back to this, and every single one of those provinces is going to be sitting at the 100 development cap, because they have literally nothing else to do but develop their provinces for you, which means once you actually get around to annexing it, it's even stronger because all your land is now 100 development. In essence, all of these subjects, what they're doing is they're deving your land to the moon in a way that you could never dev it yourself. They're culturally and religiously converting for you for free, and they're creating insane amounts of demands for your industries for you to get filthy rich filling that demand. Now, this is a very, I'm not going to even say fun way of playing the game. I think it's good for 1 or 2 campaigns. If you play the game like this every single time, it might be a bit too easy. Now, if you're playing to win or get a certain achievement, fair enough. But I will say, from an almost self-enjoyment point of view, I've actually been constraining myself recently to be playing centralization games, unironically as a challenge because their centralization is so powerful. And I think from a more meta point of view, let's now compare the values of decentralization. Your estates are happy, this is great, 5% more tax overall is just a good thing to have. Your estates recover their satisfaction faster, so when you get bad events or you revoke some privileges from them, you kind of get away with that a bit more, and that's good, I'd say. Your speed of annexation is decreased, but you kind of fix this by not annexing your subjects, so I think that's fine. The loyalty of your subjects goes up by 30, this is just good, right? This is one of the key things of decentralization that makes it amazing, right? Compare that to centralization. Now, early on, the crown power from centralization is conceptually amazing. The issue is that super early on, of course, you're going to have a really hard time getting control more than 3 seconds away from your capital. And I do mean it. If you actually look at proximity from Byzantium over here, by the time we're getting 2 provinces away, and we're not going over mountains here, this is pretty flat, this is pretty good things to be going over, we are already dropping down to 50% proximity, right? By the time we've hit Adrianopolis, we're down to 5% proximity, so for intents and purposes, 0, right? Like, it's that bad. Proximity early on is really hard to do anything with, which means the 20% proximity speed from here doesn't do a lot. Now, late game, the 20% proximity speed is going to be impactful, right? Because you're going to have a lot of roads and this is going to matter. But late game, you're also going to have a lot of proximity speed modifiers, which means it's going to be less relatively impactful, because if you have plus 100% proximity speed, the 20% swing is less important than going 0 to 20%, right? This is very different to what the game used to be when it was a negative modifier, when you could stack minus 100% proximity cost, and suddenly that's it. Proximity doesn't exist for you. You just have full proximity everywhere. But now with proximity speed, this proximity speed is actually a decreasing value modifier. And the exact same thing applies to, you guessed it, the crown power. Because yes, early on, there's not a lot of sources of crown power, so it's good. But as you play the game, there's just text for 10%. You get it from that. You go build a Supreme Court for 10%, right? There's 10% here. You unlock new laws like the legitimization of power. I don't think this one actually has crown power in it as far as I'm aware, so this is a bit of an awkward experiment. Well, Leviathan has 10% crown power, but you unlock more and more tools that give you more and more crown power, which means, you've guessed it, The 50%, which is absolutely amazing from centralization early, is now a lot less relevant all of a sudden. Especially because by the age of absolutism, there is just one technology here, which even if you're a republic, even if you are super anti-absolutist, even if you really, really love the people and love people giving people rights, absolute rulership just gives you 50% crown power for fun, right? This is not conditional. You do just get this technology. So in the most ironic way possible, centralization is weaker than decentralization in the early game, weaker than decentralization in the middle game when you have built up your industry to make money of it, and weaker than decentralization in the late game when you have a bunch of massive subjects like your colonies that you want to keep loyal, and you have crown power and proximity speed from other sources. But if you are playing for a challenge or doing a roleplay campaign, I'd unironically really recommend centralization. I think it adds a little bit of extra difficulty to the game, especially compared to just spamming subjects everywhere. And to be honest, having played both decentralization and centralization campaigns, I think centralization campaigns are more how you're meant to play the game. And playing the game is more how you're meant to, I think can be a lot more fun. So they are my personal recommendation. But if you're out here to win, just go decentralized, spam these unique location miners everywhere. They're going to be calling Parliament. They're going to be creating loads of demand for you. You'll be able to build Parliament buildings in them and all those other good things. And yeah, you just win the game even harder than you normally do. If you are, however, doing the decentralization build, my advice to you is, weirdly enough, in the Age of Renaissance, avoid researching the armory technology. And that might seem a bit weird, but don't forget your subjects inherit your technologies. And if you don't research armories, there's a good chunk they don't for a while as well. If you avoid researching armories while you're setting up all of this, the AI will eventually research armories, but it will not get there for a while. And having a standing army, even if it's like 12 dudes, is really, really impactful for subject liberty desire, right? So you can avoid a lot of those issues by never researching armories and just hoping the AI gets around to it very eventually. The other thing when also talking about subject loyalty, what I found when doing this build myself is that while it is true that you kind of get away with having loads and loads of subjects, it's not like a gradual thing where you go from, okay, my subjects have overall 60% loyalty, then 55, then 50, then 45, and okay, by 45 I need to stop. I have made too many subjects. I need to like slow down making them and so on. No. You go, you're fine until you're not fine. And the moment you hit you're not fine, you're just screwed. Like your game is basically over. You have to either release all your subjects, like most of them, if not all of them, or they're just never going to be loyal. You have to be very, very careful with that line because the first time you're playing around that line, it's very easy to cross, and then it's just like, okay, I guess I don't get to play the game anymore. None of my subjects are loyal. And if you are doing this yourself and getting super, super late game, it is the Age of Revolutions that it's critical, I'm going to say, that you have to be annexing your subjects, because this 30 loyalty of subjects from Age of Revolutions, that's really bad. This kills this build, right? Especially if you've done it to any reasonable capacity. This minus 30 flat here at the end is a major issue. But yeah, that's all I have to say on that matter. It is also rather unfortunately all the time I have for you today. Thank you very much for watching, with a special thank you to my channel members, especially Ark, Solus, Lemon, Lozendikan, Kastan, Hatan, Star 72, Yosem Rabbit, Best for Gaming, Grab, Flavia, Lebrule, W. Sov, Anthony 35, AC Napo, Conspiracy Pizza, Yukata, Danre, Marvi, Jack, Rylan, Stuart Allen, Andrew Black, Nebula, Zentronic, 28, and Aquabird.